For full details, including terms and conditions, visit unlock.com/legal. Call 1-888-780-6854 to speak with a representative today. Actor Portrayal. Terms and conditions apply. Not available in all states.
Hey, homeowners, can I get a minute of your time? If you need cash but don't want another loan, I've got the perfect solution. You can access up to $500,000 of your home's equity without monthly payments or interest ever with Unlock. This isn't a loan. It's a home equity agreement. With Unlock, you may qualify for cash today in exchange for a share of your home's future value. No debt, no extra bills, just financial flexibility on your terms. Use the money however you want. Home improvements, paying off debt, investing, or boosting your retirement savings. Unlike HELOCs, home equity loans, or cash out refis, there are no monthly payments. No stress. You've built this equity. Now it's time to use it. Go to unlock.com for more information.
Don't wait. Call 888-780-6854 to unlock the equity in your home and get up to $500,000 in cash with no monthly payments and no interest ever. Call 888-780-6854, 888-780-6854, or visit unlock.com. That's unlock.com for more information.
It was a collection of events over time. It was wearing the mask of where I came from for a long time in different versions, and the pain that it was inflicting upon me for who I was and how I was taking in the world and portraying myself, and getting to a point where I was plugging holes and issues with material things, statuses, and, anything that I could to make those go away. Right? The pain, anything to hide it, the shame, whatever it was, I was grabbing onto until at one point I just hit my knees. I was self-medicating. I was trying to just do anything and everything to not be myself. That's what I realized, was just simply to not be who I was hating as a child. That child is not allowed to be out here in front of everybody. That child is not allowed to be seen or heard, right? Or can be seen, not heard, if you're from our generation, right? So we understand those terms, and just hiding that child. And then eventually I realized that I can't do it on my own. And I have to stop. I have to get off the wheel, and I have to sit down. And I have to start to research why. Why am I here? What am I doing? Over and over again. I told my wife every other day I'd be having a panic attack. And I'm like, I'm not supposed to be doing this. This is not my career. This is not who I am. This is just not fulfilling. I hate it. Everything about it. People are nefarious. There's all sorts of bullshit going on. And it came to a point where I just sat down and I started meditating. And I read everything and anything I could on meditation. And I sat and I fucked it up and I did it wrong. I did all the stuff that I sit down, think about everything. But when you look back at something and you realize that was the waypoint and that was the light, right? That is exactly where it was when I started to realize that thoughts never go away. They always exist. The pain always exists. It's always floating around your head. It's there for the choosing. It's there to grab and hold on to and make your reality. And when I got to look at time, I talk about time a lot because I think that it's important, because it's a very big tell for our mental illness as a human. Because any moment that we're not living in the surroundings that we're in is a mental illness in my mind. When we're creating fictitious futures and reliving pasts, you chop a dog's leg off, he doesn't write a book. He walks off. Doesn't mourn a leg, doesn't care anymore, hangs out with his friends, licks it until it stops hurting. That's about it. The human holds on to that and will define themselves at points. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't be done when it's a passion and it's a way to give back and it's a mechanism with which you find, how to help people. That's beautiful, right? But when it's forcing someone to sit in that victim chair and accept that life, and to make it easier almost, we have as a society, we make it easier to sit in the chair and say, well, it's not my fault for where I am now. And that's why I'm not out there with them. Anybody that comes to visit me, I'm going to tell them my story. My story is that I was wrong. I was wrong, and that's why I'm not there with you. I could have been. I need you to know that. Know that I am capable, but it was taken away from me. When in reality, there's self-limitations at that point. To live in that mental health scenario and the pain is actually easier than stepping over it and moving forward until you do it.
For full details, including terms and conditions, visit unlock.com/legal. Call 1-888-780-6854 to speak with a representative today. Actor portrayal. Terms and conditions apply.
Lisa, thanks for having me over. Your new kitchen is gorgeous. How'd you find the money to do it?
We worked with this great company, Unlock. They help you unlock the future value of your home to get the cash you need today.
So it's a home equity loan?
No, it's not a loan at all. There's no monthly payments and no interest charges ever. And you can use the money however you want. We were able to redo our kitchen and pay off our credit card debt.
Wow, Jack and I could really use this to finally pay off our old student loan debt. How do I get started?
It's easy. Just give him a call or go to unlock.com.
Call 1-888-780-6854 to unlock the value in your home and get up to $500,000 in cash with no monthly payments and no interest ever. Use the money for home improvements, to pay off debt, or to add to your retirement fund. It's up to you. Visit unlock.com. That's unlock.com, or call 1-888-780-6854 now to get started.
We have a repeat guest. Her name is Aiden, a trans artist that does some of the wildest stuff you've ever seen. But we've discussed openly in the past that I suffered from growing up in a small hillbilly town from a condition called gynecomastia, right? A lot of people may not know what that is. Some people do. It's a pronounced breast tissue in puberty, right? That's a fatal wound for a hillbilly kid in the middle of a redneck town that's straight, right? I had things thrown at me. I had people shame me, call me every F word for gay people you could possibly imagine. He, him, what, she, whatever it was. And at the time, I didn't understand why, right? I just knew, why was I the person that had to take this on? I hated it. Made me a horrible person. So I say a lot of things that you've experienced, I see in myself when I was looking through your past. I'm like, we come out of those moments in life hurt with fear defense mechanisms, right? And we start doing things that are out of character to protect that child. And I did that for a long time. And then I sit here and I see someone like you before me with the strength and the vulnerability to say, hey, look, this is who I was. This is who I am. This is who I'm going to be. Guess what? They're all the same. All right. So I feel that whole transphobia thing, it really resonates deep with me for the simple fact that I just couldn't get away from it, like at all. And it made me hurt for people to know that that was happening to someone who knew who they were. That's a pain that I can't replicate. It gave me a lens that I honestly don't deserve. Your mind is designed to protect you from fear or anything that's going to cause you danger or harm. What we don't realize is that's not just designed for a saber-toothed tiger anymore. That's designed for any interaction in life that brings you physical, mental pain, right? And you will mask or shut down or do anything you can to isolate that to a corner of the mind that is no longer going to cause you the pain that you have. The mind is not always, it's well-intentioned, but it is not necessarily doing the right things. It's simply doing its job, and that is to hide your heart from the pain. When you have to treat to a set of codes, ICD-10 codes, in order to properly diagnose someone to get them the treatment or paid for by their insurance company, you're already at a loss. You can't holistically take care of someone if you have to categorize everything that's happening to them, because no two people are the same, right? We've taken away the ability of the doctor to have an empathetic role and to discuss openly what the patient is going through, and not having them to adapt the prescriptive care to some other formula that will allow them to get them just enough to survive on. Right? You know, they might have to hawk a couple of cars or do something in between, but just to get enough of that chemotherapy Or I think like my mom's been on Keytruda forever. She was on Keytruda forever for lung cancer. And man, when I saw the bill for that, like my heart stopped. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like how do people live? The hell is wrong with us? Like, that doesn't make any sense that we will put so much between health and happiness, right? Like, why can't we just see that there is an empathetic level that we have to live on as humans, right? We have a really good ability to walk by things and not look at them. Like, people walk by homeless people all the time, people on drugs or, that are in some kind of trial or tribulation in their life. And we can walk by repeatedly. Can't do it when you look at them. You have to admit, maybe I don't have it so bad. And my victim status is going to disappear because everybody's a victim of some kind in some role, right? And this is something that I wanted to actually talk to you about. Since we've discussed AI and we've discussed how women can, find their, a lump in their breast and do self-exams. But how does one find out they have breast cancer and hit their knees and realize that life is going to change now for them? What do they do to survive that part of it or thrive through it?
For full details, including terms and conditions, visit unlock.com/legal. Call 1-888-780-6854 to speak with a representative today. Actor portrayal. Terms and conditions apply.
Lisa, thanks for having me over. Your new kitchen is gorgeous. How'd you find the money to do it?
We worked with this great company, Unlock. They help you unlock the future value of your home to get the cash you need today.
So it's a home equity loan?
No, it's not a loan at all. There's no monthly payments and no interest charges ever. And you can use the money however you want. We were able to redo our kitchen and pay off our credit card debt.
Wow, Jack and I could really use this to finally pay off our old student loan debt. How do I get started?
It's easy. Just give him a call or go to unlock.com.
Call 1-888-780-6854 to unlock the value in your home and get up to $500,000 in cash with no monthly payments and no interest ever. Use the money for home improvements, to pay off debt, or to add to your retirement fund. It's up to you. Visit unlock.com. That's unlock.com. Or call 1-888-780-6854 now to get started.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I think it's a disservice to yourself when you sit and you accept the victimhood that is your reality at that moment. I think that you deserve more. Anybody that's been through something traumatic, you used a word in particular. You said choose in several different ways. And I like to focus on that because I feel like the things that we take on as our immediate pain are things that we're choosing to focus on in the moment. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't focus on the things that bring us pain, but we do have to go through them. You described that stained glass, right? That's how I picture it. It's all different colors. It's shattered, but it's stained glass, and those pieces are placed in there. But those are the chosen moments that are focused on individually that bring that pain to your heart. But I'm sure you can recognize when you bring together all those other shards that you have lived through in many different ways at this time or this point in time, you could look back and see that that piece of stained glass is not the sum of you. However, that part that you were creating that is the pain and the trauma and the depression and the mental health issues that are with it could simply be the eye of a greater portrait of you, just a small piece of what defines you, right? That's the way I like to look at it, that we focus on small things, but we don't see that we're building a greater picture around ourselves. And that's simply one part of who we are. And we have the ability to choose on what we focus on. That means mindfulness. We have to utilize that word choose in a moment where we're sitting and we're paying attention. You untie those rope, or that rope that I always discuss on the show, that you have a choice when you go through things in life. And sometimes you don't have the choice, but you have to address it later. You tie a knot in your proverbial rope every time you go through something that you don't get to handle in the moment. And when you sit down and you start to create your stained glass, or you look at your knotted rope of life, you have to take that mindful moment and choose to focus on individual pieces of rope that are tied around each other. But just like you said, the more that you started to piece it together, the faster it comes together, right? Just like when you're untying a knot, when you start to untie one piece and the next piece gets loose and looser and looser, and then you get to see you're a beautiful, usable piece of rope. You're not just this matted, knotted mess. You have a lot more potential. You have a lot more things about you. So that's kind of the way that I like to look at it. Perfectly imperfect. Perfectly imperfect. You should have a dark side because there would be no light side. You wouldn't have things to appreciate without having things that are, that you don't want. It's how it works. And you also have to be grateful for the fact that, there are certain things in life that will happen and you cannot be in the now without it having. Unfortunately, in order to be free later in life, we have to accept what's happened to us in life for the simple fact that we deserve to be free. We embrace who we've become, who we're gonna be, and we live in the now. We don't give things power that don't exist in the exact moment. That's something that I had to start doing. I had to start paying attention to, is it now? Is it now is a very important mantra for me because it allows me to recognize that it's not happening in the moment. So why am I allowing myself to feel a certain way for something that's non-existent? It does exist, but it's not now, right? And I had to tell myself that I was making a conscious choice to feel pain through the selection of thoughts. Future, anticipation, anxiety, that was me reaching out into a non-existent world as well and anticipating problems, worrying about what could happen, giving myself stomach aches for nothing that was going on now, right? And as soon as I started to tighten that shot group and start to look in the immediate circle, I started to realize how much was actually insanity, how much was a choice. How many thoughts was I grabbing from the collective that didn't belong to me or need to be in my hands to begin with, right? I was choosing my pain for so long, and it took me a long time to figure out that I don't have to make those choices. Like I can choose gratitude. I can choose hope. I can choose love. Right? Doesn't mean the others don't exist. You acknowledge them. Give them presence. Look in the room. There's the Grim Reaper and there's the angel. They're both in the same room, Chief. Right? But the Grim Reaper only talks to you when you talk to him. Don't start the conversation. It's amazing how we can justify our situation through going backwards through the scenario. Like it's almost like reverse Tetris to make ourselves feel better, where we take those pieces and we make them fit into what will give us the most comforting scenario at that moment. Even if it is blindly looking away from what could be, life-saving care with the extra steps that could be taken. I am a professional at talking myself out of the doctor, like hands down. And it's a phenomenon that seems to be, honestly, more to Americans than any other country I've seen, that we will get into a situation where we will justify why we shouldn't go to the doctor. I know this is something that you're very, very passionate about, and you've spoken in front of, I believe, Congress at one point about the gap that is insurance and medical care. I'd like to think that we operate on a pendulum. And we all know that there's been recent developments in the insurance world and the consumer and the patients and advocates and somebody taking things into their own hands, which I would never endorse anything like that. But what I do believe is that all things operate on a pendulum, and a pendulum has to have a stopping point. And if you strangle your society into a position where they can never care for themselves and they're a victim to their own medical, eventually it's going to hit a breaking point and it's going to come back the other way. I think, in my mind, what I would like to see happen will come up right after this. You can't gatekeep knowledge. This is why the education system will crumble. It will crumble because of the readily accessed knowledge base that is out there now. You don't need to go to college to learn about the stuff they teach at Harvard. Doesn't mean that you're missing, you might be missing out on the education style, but the information is now there. Like lawyers, it's probably a lot easier to be a lawyer because you don't have to go through a pile of books anymore, right? AI is supplementing so many things, and you can't tell people they're going to pay extra. Like, hey, you can get diagnosed or diagnosed light. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, it's just as good, but you might not get it caught. That pisses me off. Like, is this the premium version?
Texting terms at unlock.com/SMS. Privacy policy at unlock.com/privacy-policy. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. Terms and conditions apply. For full details, see unlock.com/legal. Actor portrayal.
Lisa, thanks for having me over. Your new kitchen is gorgeous. How'd you find the money to do it?
We worked with this great company, Unlock. They help you unlock the future value of your home to get the cash you need today.
So it's a home equity loan?
No, it's not a loan at all. There's no monthly payments and no interest charges ever. And you can use the money however you want. We were able to redo our kitchen and pay off our credit card debt.
Wow, Jack and I could really use this to finally pay off our old student loan debt. How do I get started?
It's easy. Just go to their website.
Text EQUITY to 865-865 to unlock the value in your home and get up to $500,000 in cash with no monthly payments and no interest ever. Pay off debt, improve your home, add to your retirement fund. It's up to you. Text EQUITY to 865-865. Text the word EQUITY to 865-865. Text EQUITY to 865-865 now.
Do you remember in the gym, they used to have those banners on the wall, and it would list off the number of years you were champion? 1988, this team 1987, this team 1963, this team. You guys deserve a fucking championship banner in your family where you can put down how many times you kicked breast cancer's ass, either through preventative care or straight punch to the face when you got to do it, right? That to me is a testament, right? I feel like we're given crossroads in life where we can make a decision as to what we can do going forward, or we can give in, right? And you chose to go forward. And what I'd like to find out is something when we come back here in just a moment. I believe that we're given opportunities in life to be our authentic self, right? And that means that we become at that point a lighthouse. Once you find who you are, and I believe that when we go through those crossroads where we hit our knees, we actually find out who we are, what makes us tick, what the important things are. And it looks like you've embodied those, and you've now stood up and you've become a lighthouse for other people to find their way. They might have their own pathway to getting there, but they see that you've taken on something so important and you've done it on such a stage that if anybody needs help, they may not even need to come ask you. All they have to do is look at the path that you walked. And I appreciate that you're leaving this path to these places that people can get treatment. It's a very rare gift that people get in life. And I appreciate that you've taken that on full force. Your only job is to be the best you and let everybody take cues from that. Be as authentic as you can, be as loving as you can, and try to act accordingly. And then everybody else is going to get license to be themselves in your presence. And the more that they're allowed to be themselves in your presence, they're going to start to take risks. They're going to go out further and further. And you're going to give them encouragement. And you're going to say, fuck yeah, do that. Do you. Be you. And they're going to continue to push. And guess what? Their circle's going to grow. And then their circle's going to grow, right? And then we have beacons of light and waypoints that other people can follow, right? That's that map we were talking about earlier. Those waypoints, they're lit up for a reason. It may not be somebody's path, but it can be a point where they can take a breath and look at their direction at that intersection and say, because if we don't leave that light, they're not going to be able to see what's there, right? Or maybe they're carrying their own. Don't we know that two lights are better than one when you're searching for something? And if I can leave the ability for somebody else to have more capability with their light to find something, that's my job. That's my job to do that for them. And nothing more. If they don't figure it out, they don't figure it out. They get another tour on the rock or whatever the hell this is we call life, right? And it's not their fault. Their genetic and hereditary insanity is a gutter ball for whatever reason on this round. I'm sure I've lived a shit ton of them, and this could be one too. Maybe I'm just gearing up for the next time and getting myself prepared to be a decent dude, right? Who knows? But it's easy just to be you. Step off the curb, be you, because that's what you're doing every single day, right? I commend you for your strength and vulnerability, right? People don't recognize that enough in life, that there is so much more strength in standing there for everybody to see without your mask than there is to wear a mask and run through them and tackle them all. It doesn't work. To stand there and show people that it is okay to love themselves, lock, stock, and barrel, in, out, shame, guilt, trauma, whatever it is, right? Guess what? Your soup. You don't get to remove ingredients. That's it. That's your meal. If you chose to put it in that pot, you better live with it or find a way to change and add ingredients and still it's palatable again. You are absolutely right. And you are giving people the ingredients or seasonings that they need to be able to eat and take in that meal. They would not be able to palate it until you give them the ability to do so. And you only know that because you've been through it. It's from your location in the world. We traveled the world looking for spices, right? Well, spices right now are mental cues or assistance in getting through traumas and things like that. Lenses, talking to friends, making things commonplace to have discussions. You can go to work and say, you know what? If you can go to work and say, I broke my thumb, you should be able to go to work and say, I had a panic attack. No, it's not. There's also a Chinese philosophy that says worry is preposterous because it serves no purpose in the now. It is nothing but hypotheses about what might happen when you have zero control over it and you're not Nostradamus and you're not going to get it right. Just not going to happen. You might hit it in the right hemisphere, but anybody could do that. The time spent worrying about what might happen is taking away from the ability for you to race that gene, right? If yours is a sprinter, you better hit the ground and do some hamstring stretches. You don't have time to sit around and worry about it or wonder why me. And that's not to be insensitive. That's just to be practical, right? Don't sit around and wait for somebody else, your breast cancer gene, to go sprinting off in front of you. Nobody likes to chase somebody from behind, right? Be proactive in it. You know, I do some self-exams. Maybe you scare it away if you do that. Who knows? It's that fragile. Yeah, the difference between success and non-success is action. Simply that. Our egos are so fragile and made up that we can create completely different personalities and trajectories in life at the drop of a dime. Immediately. Why? Because time is a mental illness. Future and the past is something we contemplate in the now. Get the fuck out of here. I'm going to go today. Today is the moment. Yesterday happened today too. Tomorrow happened today too. So why don't I just live all three of them right now and be grateful for what I have and not worry about what anybody else thinks? And I only say these things because I got to remind myself every effing day that I'm worth sitting in this chair and that I'm worth talking to people, that I'm worth just sharing space with other people. Now we're talking, and this is what I was waiting for, the introduction of AI to medical. Right? A lot of people have put AI in this scenario that they have fear of its capabilities, yada, yada, yada. And I try to explain to my friends, I'm like, it's a box of letters and numbers. In fact, it's everyone we can think of for now. We've shoved it in there and we're asking it for answers. It doesn't have malintent. All it's going to do is be able to analyze, compile, and create the correct questions based on the information, right? And in my mind, we are on the precipice of change in that we have the opportunity to level set our medical care, that gap that exists with the money made through the use of AI in the medical field, because that will advance and create a gap. There will be money saved, and that money saved should be put to good use, not called profit, right? I think that's one of the things that we're up against. I also believe that AI is going to actually give a chance for doctors to be doctors. It's out of their hands after that. They get the amount of choices that are statistically correct and get to work with the patient. They're not sitting in the back seat reading through all of these different ICD-10 or 9 codes. It's already figured out for them. Now they can address it personally, empathetically. You ever seen a doctor cry with a patient? Probably not. Very rarely, right? It's not commonplace. How hard would it be to have to be a professional and not be able to share the emotion as well? I think that we're allowed to come back to that, given that opportunity, because we put in the time for what exactly that you're discussing. You know, that those genome mapping and being able to find out, you know, whether or not someone should be screened earlier is something that is invaluable. Did you headbutt them? Because they deserved a headbutt for that. Like, I'm so mad. Like, if I watch somebody say something like that, and I'm saying that doesn't mean I wouldn't actually do that. I just like to go over the top about things. But some people mean well in their descriptions of things, and I think you've hit on something very important, and that's when you said mortality, right? We don't discuss mortality. The most guaranteed item in existence, we refuse to discuss at any given moment, to the degree that when one of our loved ones has a mortality crisis, we will immediately turn away because we're so afraid of facing our own. But the problem is that sends a different message than you're not okay. That sends the message to the person with cancer that they're not okay. They're not in your mind. They're not privy to that discussion amongst yourself or whatever it is you're feeling. All they know is that their cancer has caused you to look away from them. And that's something to remember, right? At least in my mind, that's how I envision it. So that's not a bad place to kind of hang our hat for a moment. Shame is something that is littered throughout everything that we have in life. Our feelings are very attached to it. And I didn't think about it until you said this, but there's got to be a certain amount of personal shame at getting a disease, right? That's not to say there's something to be ashamed of, but at that point, you become the 1 in the 8. It's cyclical. I firmly believe that we're revisited by the issues that we're not addressing over and over again as a way to remind us that it needs to be addressed. I ask myself, if I'm having a problem with a person or a place or a situation over and over again, whether it's the exact same one or a similar one, why does it keep coming to me? There is a reason. I'm attracting it to me. I'm looking for it for some reason. It is here. And I need to wake the fuck up, pay attention to it, and address whatever is making me stand in this position over and over again. Because it wouldn't be happening if I wasn't thinking about it or attracting myself to it. I only started loving myself the last few years. And it was a disservice to myself not to earlier. Right? Because now when I look at myself, I'm a freaking cartoon. Like, I'm always voices, loudmouth, walk around the house, dancing, acting like an idiot. If you want to see, like, if they put a camera in my house, or if I have like the CIA guy that's monitoring me has the weirdest show that you could ever watch. Right? I always say, like, if I'm being spied on, that dude has got like stories to tell about the most nonsensical stuff. But I found that in doing those things throughout life and acting that way, I've given other people license to be themselves. And people are much more receptive to me because I'm being myself. Authenticity looks like a cliff with a blindfold when really it's a curb. It's one step with no actual fall except for dropping that giant sack of masks that you've been carrying forever of all the characters. Drop that, step off the curb, be you. We love artists that are themselves. We've proved it time over time. We throw away the people that repeat the past and do the same shit over and over. We love the authentic inside and out. All the flaws. Nobody's pissed at Kurt Cobain because he killed himself. We're fucking horrified, right? We loved him because he was in pain, because he told us he was in pain the entire time, because he voiced it out loud. And that made us want to be near him more and more and more, right? Every artist and human that has ever been themselves around you, you hold in a revered status unless you are ashamed of not doing what they're doing with their life. If you got a problem with somebody being authentic, it's because you're not being. As a voice, genuinely appreciate that. And in all honesty, I started this show about 6 years ago coming up. And I was on the precipice of just a complete and total meltdown. I was in the military. I grew up poor, parents, drugs, blah, 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 and then went to college at night. And I was a solution architect manager for two of the largest consulting firms in the world. I was running operations in Chennai, Hyderabad, designing in Manila, different places like that. And I was down on a pint of vodka at night because I hated everything about it. Because I wasn't me, right? I wasn't being me. And I didn't know who I was. I was really good at being what I thought I was supposed to be. I was a great soldier. I was a great corporate guy. Anything you put me up against, I was going to do well at it, but I was going to hate it because I wasn't being me. Right. So I started meditating like 5-6 years ago, and it allowed me to start addressing a lot of things and see that foundationally, because I say like victimhood and things like that are all a choice. They come from within. We just don't realize it. Doesn't mean that we're not in pain. Doesn't mean we don't have a right to go through things. But anytime we hold on to them, that is a self-constructed cage. It's like holding both walls together against yourself and complaining you're stuck. Right. It just doesn't work. So I found myself kind of getting closer to understanding how I relate to time. The fact that I believe that existence for humans is a mental condition. It's called the human condition for a reason. We worry about tomorrow and we have anxiety or depression about the past. Both things don't exist. One of these things is not like the other. Every other creature on the planet don't have this problem. They just watch us. They watch us toil and create things and have this turmoil in place. You could be standing somewhere and in just complete and total pain, hating your existence when there's nothing causing it in that physical moment. That's a problem. You're describing terror within your only safe space. Your home is supposed to be your sanctuary, and you're on the defense 24/7. You get nothing but a heightened awareness for anything and everything nefarious in your space at any given time. Doesn't matter where you are for the rest of your life. You also gain an additional skill when you come from a traumatic background as a child. And that is that you are a lie detector. And I don't mean like somebody's like, oh, what's in this hand or what's in this hand kind of a lie. I mean when somebody's not being truthful to the self and what they're saying to you in the moment. You can recognize inauthenticity because it represents something that is going to cause you pain, right? Or somebody that could cause you pain because they're acting out of character, right? Always on alert. So the fact that you build up those defenses inside your home and become more like him does not mean anything but you're emulating the best way to protect yourself. And you're also showing him the most terrifying version of himself in your face. That's the only thing that you have and in your bag of tricks to even understand what horrifying is. So you grab his mask, put it on, and show it back to him. There's nothing else you can do. It's not like you have the wherewithal to think of something disgusting or horrifying to give back to him because you've never been through that. You only know what he's given you, and guess what? You get your mask back. Unfortunately, some people forget to take that mask off and they live it for a while and they become that human and they don't realize it. And it's painful to watch somebody that you know is a good human that is in the throes of despair being somebody they're not just simply because they're perpetrating the protection that they had since they were a child, right? When all they want to do is take a deep breath. Take off that 50-pound cinder block mask that's hanging their face forward, put it on the ground and walk off, right? But they can't, because that means that child is exposed again. If one person found solace in today's conversation or the ability to move forward from whatever stagnant scenario they're living in, whether it be trauma or mental health or anything, financial, it doesn't matter. That if you picked up any kind of, help from this conversation, that's all that matters to me. Just one, and that's the good thing about podcasting and creating this kind of content is that it stands the test of time. It's going to be here. We don't know when it's going to fall in somebody's ears. So if we continue to make it, they may find it 10 years from now. You never know. So know that you're making an impact. And remember, everybody, be cool and keep learning.